Many thanks for your time. Welcome back to Marketplace. Now, government has been trying to convince local investors on why they should participate in the energy bond sale. This was after it concluded a similar exercise in London for international investors. So how is the program going to look like, and what would government be telling these investors? George Riafe has more on this.
This engagement will be led by all the three banks that are handling this transaction. That is Standard Chartered Bank, Fidelity, and Ghana Commercial Bank, as well as the finance house Temple Investment. These institutions would, together with the Finance Ministry, be trying to answer all the burning questions and concerns that investors like commercial banks, insurance companies, and Social Security and National Insurance Trust in it have about the energy bond and whether they should actually invest in it. This engagement is coming after some extensive prospectus or documents covering this offer was sent out to prospective investors. Today's meeting is coming after a similar exercise in London, which has been described as successful, according to some commitments secured from investors. According to the prospectus, government is hoping to raise 6 billion cedis from investors in what has been described as the first tranche of the fundraising exercise. Government is expected to use the book-building approach in raising the funds. It is hoping to use it to clear the about 9 billion cedis energy sector debts due to banks and BDCs, as well as some utility companies. Government has also given some assurance of fiscal discipline to stabilize the economy, to protect the investments of creditors, a development that could impact on the pricing of the bond.
All right, so we are just hearing that government has secured some commitment from local investors on the energy sector bond. This has come to light at the end of the roadshow with local investors. Our man George Riafe again was at the meeting and now joins us on phone with more. Yes, good afternoon and welcome to the show, George. Now, what is the basis of expression of interest by these investors?
It is more of how this bond has been structured. Commitment that if they should lend this money to government, they're going to get their money back. And to engage these investors who are here, that's what they are telling. They believe that this bond has been done in a way that they wouldn't have any problems in terms of government paying the money back or they are paying the money back. And based on that commitment have been given to government that we will participate in this bond.
All right, so any of these major concerns by these investors, and what are they hoping?
The issue that came up was about whether the ESLA proceeds would be enough to actually pay off the debt. But you also get some commitment from government that if the need arises, they could step in and bail out the carriers to try and address that issue.
Now, George, what about the pricing of these bonds? What is it?
Well, we're hearing a range that possibly they'll be looking between 16 to about 19%. And if you look at the current 10-year bond on the secondary market, we are paying about 17.5%. And so it is likely that we can hit about 18 or even 18.5%. That means that every year, if we should take this money from investors, we're paying them an interest, annual interest of about 18% on it. So you see that it won't be a big deal or a big issue in terms of the interest or the expected interest that government should pay on this particular bond.
And how much is government trying to raise out of this?
Well, we hear 6 billion, but it will be a split issue. So a fraction of that will be issued over a 7-year period, and a fraction of that will be issued over a 10-year period. This is being done to ensure that the cost of raising this money is minimized as well. And don't forget that we also heard that the IMF was also looking at the fact that go ahead at the split issue because that would then lessen the impact on the cost of raising this money.
All right, now, George, you have just returned from the IMF and World Bank annual meetings in Washington, D.C. Now, how much of a concern is these local bonds to the IMF?
Well, they have raised issues about the impact on the public debt. And you would appreciate that the whole essence of this program is how they reduce our public debt. And therefore, if government is undertaking any project or program that is not captured in the whole 3-year arrangement, then that would be a concern for them. So that has been the talking point even before this issue as well. again, when you engage these investors, you get from them that, well, the IMF has a concern, right? But looking at the firm commitment that we are getting from government and all the rest, we are sure about how this whole thing is being structured, and therefore we place our hands in it.
Now, you've also been following the international bond issue in London. So together with this local bond, are we making a headway in clearing the energy sector bond?
I think so. We are seeing, again, what we'll see the eating lies in the fitness lies in the pudding. We've seen or we've heard the commitment from these investors. Let's see what will happen from tomorrow.
All right. Many thanks for your time, George Rafi. And George Rafi reaching us from the road show here in Accra, where government has now tried to convince some local investors to go in for the bond issue to clear the energy sector debts. You're still live on the marketplace, and the Ghana Securities and Industry Association has expressed optimism about the ESTLA bond being issued. And the bond, which is expected to raise about 6 billion cedis, is being issued over a 7 and a 10-year period. In an interview with Joy Business at the launch of the Capital Markets Week, the president of the Ghana Securities Industry Association, Reginald Fans, said the energy sector levy bond is a step in the right direction.
Bond is a unique bond that the government is issuing. It is actually to pay off the energy sector debts. It has been ring-fenced. The sources are very clear. All of us are going to be paying for it by buying fuel at the pump, and they take a few pennies out. They ring-fence the money to ensure that they can settle these debts with the financial institutions. It helps each of the energy sector institutions clean off their balance sheet, which then becomes better for you and I in terms of it. So it's a very important part of the solution to clearing problems we've had in the past. The levy is already there and we are paying it. Okay. Yes, so it actually strengthens, once the banks are paid, it actually strengthens the institutions and the SOEs to have better liquidity. And I think it's one of the policies that government has been working on from the last administration and the current administration.
And away from the energy sector bond issue, the Chief Executive Officer of Data Bank Group, Kojo Mensah, has charged heads of corporate institutions to prioritize the mental health statuses of their employees. According to a mental health and in workplace report released by the WHO, depression and anxiety have a significant impact on productivity, with the estimated cost to the global economy pegged at $1 trillion per year. Speaking to Joy Business after the 20th anniversary celebration of the Data Bank Foundation, CEO of the group, Kojo Mensah, entreated employers to rather invest and conduct periodic mental health tests to reduce work-related risk factors.
Honestly, every corporate has its CSR, every corporate has where it focuses, but I must say that mental health is totally neglected in Ghana. It is stigmatized, people don't want to be associated with it, but it is real and it is something that can affect a lot of homes. Statistics suggest that 1 out of every 6 adults in Ghana has one shape or form of a mental situation, and so that is a very scary statistic, and we all need, as corporates, to be interested in mental health, because we have human beings working for us and we need them in the proper mental state to be able to work. When we are taking on people and we ask them to go for medical screening, the last thing we even think about is mental health, but I would screen first for mental health stability before anything else. I mean, you are thinking about whether the guy is hypertensive and whether he is going to come and increase your medical bill, but if there's a mental problem, I mean, we see cases of people in workplaces where they say, oh, this guy is a very difficult guy, he's always angry, he's always this. There could be an underlying mental health issue there, which has to be investigated and picked up. The doctors have a way of picking it up, so I'll encourage everybody to take mental health very seriously.
A marketing and communications analyst, Kobi Mensah, is proposing counseling for staff of Tigo and Airtel who might be affected by the mergers of the two telecom companies. According to him, some workers of the two entities would be laid off as a result of the merger, making such a program important. The National Communications Authority, NCA, has already given approval for the merger deal between the two companies. In an interview after a seminar on mergers and acquisitions, lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Kobi Mensah, said staff of the two companies must be treated fairly to avoid any psychological disorders.
that they know where they stand, and I'm sure that a lot of people psychologically are prepared, on their next move. If not psychologically, even physically, people have actually been, targeting where they want to move, or if they're going to be moved forcefully, where they go in their next line of action. So that's quite different, and I think that should be the process, for any, employee or for any customer, who is with an entity. If an entity is going to be taken over, consumers, as well as employees and other stakeholders must be somehow in the know. If they're not in the know, there must be, some procedures to kind of reduce the impact of panic, or to reduce the uncertainty that actually swirl around them, in times of this.
So you think staff of Airtel-Tigo needs to go through some counseling session or seminar?
Of course, and I'm sure the HR guys will tell you they need some kind of preparation, they need some kind of. I remember I went through, issues like this before, and when I was in the UK during the credit crunch. I mean, we were taken through a lot of psychological preparation, a lot of preparation towards your new career, a lot of training, a lot of things, and then of course we were paid handsomely to make sure that you can absorb yourself within the time of unemployment, if there's the case. So I think that the staff of these entities must be undergoing some kind of preparation to kind of weather the tough situation, the crisis period that they will find themselves before they find other jobs. So we must actually have that responsibility to make sure that they find themselves in a very comforting zone, other than to be in a very uncertain, very bleak, very panic state of mind.
Now, there's currently some tension between the Maritime and Dock Workers Union, also known as MDU, over the leadership style of management of the PSC Tema shipyard. This follows an earlier resolution passed in September, where a section of the union resolved to ensure the dismissal of some management members at the shipyard.
The resolution has been described by Ghana Ports and Harbour Workers Union as a deliberate attempt by some individuals in the Maritime Dock Workers Union to cause public disaffection. Addressing the media, Secretary to Chief Shop Steward of the GPHA Workers Union, Evans Sego Agri, said the resolution must be condemned.
It was a malicious attempt by the union, that is the MDU, to ramp up needless staff and government sentiment against the Director General, the CEO, and the estate and admin manager of the dry dock and Tema shipyard. It is also clear that it was deliberately done to put GPHA, and for that matter, Tema shipyard, in the news for the wrong reasons and cause public disaffection for the authority. However, we write to inform you, that's the MDU, it failed woefully, and thus assure you of our unflinching support for the management of GPHA, led by the Director General, and ask you to desist from this ill motive of destroying dissenting, opinionated persons in the management of the authority.
One of such individuals perceived to have special interest in the affairs of the Tema shipyard is General Secretary of the Maritime Dock Workers Union, Daniel Owusu-Kranting. He, however, denies this.
I don't have any personal interest. I hope that people who understand how the union works know that the General Secretary only articulates the concerns of the members and pursues that agenda. It doesn't mean that it's a personal agenda. I don't have any personal interest in PSC Tema shipyard, nor do I personalize do I have a personal grudge with anybody. We take it as an issue in the family, and we will sit down to address them. The attack on my person is just the pain of leadership. I mean, the pain of leadership. But so it's part of the occupational hazard of being a general secretary. Whenever you pursue an agenda, the collective agenda, then somebody would like to personally attack you for it. I've gone through it many times. Sometimes you go through slander, like it was being said that he went and stood somewhere and said he's powerful. I won't stand anywhere and say I'm powerful, because I'm not.
And away from that, the Crops Research Institute of the Center for Scientific and Industrial Research says improved technology in seed production will ensure increased crop yield. Director of the CSIR, Dr. Stella Ama-Enin, spoke at a contract signing ceremony for public-private partnership for aeroponics-based seed yam production.
Aeroponics is a process of growing plants mid-air in a moist environment without tilling the land. The technology involves generating yam seeds from vines for improved and disease-resistant varieties. Community Action for Yam Seed project is aimed at increased production for food security and wealth creation. 3,000 smallholder farmers in 8 major yam production areas in Ghana and Nigeria will benefit from the initiative. It falls under the Yam Improvement for Income and Food Security Aeroponics Greenhouse and System. Dr. Ama-Enin believes this will demonstrate to farmers best practices in maintaining clean seed at their own farm level.
Yes, we are planting yam in air, but really we have the technology which you have all been exposed to. And this technology is able to give us very clean planting materials because we are starting from tissue culture, which is a very clean source of planting material. And we are not keeping this technology to ourselves on the station. We know that technology transfer is very important to us. When we develop technologies, crop research technologies are not left on the shelves. We make sure that we move the technology to the end users.
After a series of training, the Crops Research Institute has entered agreement with 6 local commercial farms to produce the seeds for local farmers. Joy News spoke with some of the beneficiaries.
It's going to promote more seed yam in the system because we ventured into farming and especially into yam production, but then you cannot produce the large acreage.
Yam is one of the staple crops in Ghana. But since time immemorial, there hasn't been any quality seed yam in the system. No seed yam at all. But this initiative will go a long way to help the company financially to get money and at the same time to live by its vision. That is making seeds affordable, accessible to the remotest part of the country for farmers. It will help with our food security. It will help the ordinary farmer to get money into his pocket, and it will help with nutrition for the country.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Debra.
Now, poultry farmers whose birds were destroyed during the outbreak of avian flu influenza in 2015 are pleading with their Greek ministry and other relevant bodies to pay compensation due them. About 60 farmers were affected during 2 separate destructions following the outbreak of the flu.
Over 66,000 birds were destroyed in 2 separate outbreaks in an attempt to stop the spread of the avian flu in 2015. Aside the birds, eggs, farm implements, among other equipment were destroyed. Though some farmers were paid, 35 of them are yet to be paid. The farmers who depended on credit and other loan facilities from banks could not keep their farms running following the destruction. This is because creditors feared the farmers might not be in the position to clear the debts. Speaking to Joy Business, some farmers within Ashaiman and Kpong Katamanso said their businesses have collapsed over the 2-year period.
I've always had a facility from ADB for a long, long time, which has stopped. When it happened, I had a little balance to pay, so they advised me to come and pay it off, which I did. After 6 months, when I realized that the compensation was not coming, I tried to go back to them, but they didn't agree. They said they won't be able to give me any facility since I haven't been cleared. So the company as such is no more functioning.
I have a son, you see, in the university. As at now, people are helping, friends are helping me to take care of him. But when he comes back this year, this semester, and I don't get help, he has to defer. But that is a matter of fact. It's a blow. You see, now the school that is inside now, surviving is very difficult. The last time he was going, I didn't get a penny for him. So I'm pleading that they try and then compensate us.
And before we go, the turn of the 21st century has seen an upsurge in modern technology and workplace equipment that are replacing manual execution of tasks. Labor automation comes with concerns about loss of livelihood sources. Amidst worries about how to mitigate the effects across the globe, there are optimists who believe all is not yet lost. Lab FM's Kwesi Debra once again explores how the work of an artist gives hope to the world of manual labor.
Left with over 300 books to fold and bind, Barnabas Sam would have to endure sitting for another 3 hours. He had done 200 before lunch. Barnabas would have to finish a consignment by close of day, early enough for his kindergarten center clients. When I started, some were involved in binding, stitching, and others were operating the cutting machine. Alfred is one of Barnabas' 12 employees. Though he can fold and bind, he specializes in stitching, a role he has performed for 5 years. Barnabas is satisfied at their work, though sometimes he is bothered by negative work attitude. Most of them are lazy and like idling about. He has acquired and installed new machines and replaced outmoded equipment to facilitate workflow. Nonetheless, his workforce remains unthreatened. When I got the machines, I reduced the number of workers in one department, but I had to assign different roles to the affected persons. The World Bank estimates 2/3 of jobs worldwide will be lost as a result of automation and is therefore advocating new and innovative ways to reach the poor so that the world can be stable and safe. Jim Yong Kim is president.
Aspirations on the rise everywhere. Jobs being eliminated at huge percentage. This is just our estimate of how many currently existing jobs will be eliminated by automation in these countries.
Despite the fear, many continue to extend the argument. Here is Master of Fine Art student of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. She gathers shavings from cane weavers in major cities in Ghana.
And they come as a result of someone else's labor.
She believes no matter how automated the labor world becomes, the human touch will remain indispensable.
In our postmodern industrial world, the act of handmade still exists, but in diverse forms. So it's not about touching the work. It's not about having a physical contact with the material, but if you're able to give a command to a machine to do an artwork for you, in one way or the other, there's this manual touch to it because there's a presence of human element in there.
Call it a headgear or doormat. She has, however, invoked and empowered the ghost of manual labor.
My name is Esther Fosu, and this installation you see here is titled Necromancy of Stitching, Weaving, and Crocheting.
Also known as Labor of Love. For Joy News, Kwesi Debra.
All right, so I hope this rapid evolution of technology do not see the loss of jobs for my cameraman and, of course, for those manning the consoles in the control room. And on that note, we wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Join me again at 5 p.m. for Business Live. My name is Emmanuel Apwaji. Good afternoon.